Sri Lanka has received $787 million from the International Monetary Fund and $150 million from the Bangladesh Central Bank. This was all part of an effort to boost the struggling nation's foreign exchange reserves, which have been depleted as it struggles to recover from the coronavirus pandemic. The kind of funding that the IMF has sent to the island is called a special drawing rights. It's a special kind of international reserve asset and is very, very rarely used, last in 2009. Now, Sri Lankan President Gotabaya Rajapaska declared a state of emergency over food shortages as banks run out of foreign exchange to finance imports. He named a top army officer as Commissioner General of Essential Services to coordinate the limited supply of paddy, rice, sugar and other groceries. Long queues have formed outside stores and supermarkets. Many shelves are already empty. Milk powder and cooking oil are virtually impossible to get. People have also had to wait for hours to fill their motorbikes, rickshaws and cars with gasoline. The energy minister has appealed to motorists to use fuel sparingly, warning that it could be rationed by the end of the year unless consumption was reduced. The Asian country is suffering from the economic fallout of the pandemic. The economy in Sri Lanka shrank 3.6% last year. And even though growth has returned, the money shortage means that the government cannot even buy enough medicine to supply hospitals. Earlier, I spoke to Ganeshamoorthy M, an economist at the University of Colombo. I asked him what factors had sparked this crisis.
Foreign exchange issue is one thing because Sri Lanka imports some food items like sugar and other essential items. On top of that, Sri Lanka entirely depend on imports for its gasoline need and also gas. So the shortages are now in gas and petrol. That's for sometimes back the shortages were there because of these shortages in foreign currencies. So this country's foreign reserves have been depleted to the alarming level. So the government could not maintain its import flow into the country. So there was a serious import control regime has been put in place. So the local production of rice and other commodities, vegetables and other commodities are basically we have seen there is no reason for the shortage as of now. Especially the rice, it has been produced adequately, but we can't see them in the market in adequate quantities. So something went wrong somewhere. So the emergency regulation is intended to bring this rice into the market, I think.
And how have these food shortages been impacting people in Sri Lanka so far?
Indeed, the food shortage has pushed these prices of essential commodities. For example, I can give you some figures on rice. It was earlier sold at 0.35 euro cents to make a comparison. And now it is 0.5 euro cents. So for an ordinary family, that's a huge increase in the staple food price. So it's very difficult for an ordinary family to get ordinary rice. Not only rice, all other commodities, we have seen that the prices are now climbing up, disproportionately. So it's for an ordinary family, it's very difficult to manage with the situation.
Ganeshamoorthy M from the University of Colombo there. Thank you for talking to us. In the middle of Sri Lanka's economic crisis comes a new initiative by the government to improve the country's biggest export, tea. But what was meant well might push the entire industry in danger.
The soil on this sunny plantation produces one of the best teas in the world, as do neighboring plantations all across Sri Lanka. Tea connoisseurs appreciate the country's Ceylon tea for its color and taste. Tea is Sri Lanka's main export, bringing in more than $1.25 billion a year and accounting for about 10% of the country's export income. But President Gotabaya Rajapaksa's recent ban on chemical fertilizers has growers worried. Their plants depend on the nutrients they are fed.
It is the urea and the nitrogen content that forces the growth of the tea, of the bud and of the green leaf. Without it, you can expect a decline in production by as much as 50%.
Rajapaksa's idea was to make Ceylon tea entirely organic and ready for a fast-growing market. But tea growers worry about their harvest and about the economic consequences of a failed policy, which would go far beyond the loss of income.
To number one, make a big dent in the foreign exchange earnings of the country. Number two, it is going to render a great part of our population unemployed.
3 million people in Sri Lanka work as tea pickers. Add to that workers on cinnamon and pepper plantations that are expected to face similar problems if the fertilizer ban is not lifted. And time is of the essence. Our chemical fertilizers reserves will last about 2 months maximum. After that, we need replenishments. If we don't get that in time, there will be a very drastic drop in crop of tea leaves. But right now, President Rajapaksa doesn't seem to be willing to change course. He's betting on improved long-term food security for Sri Lankans, hopes the tea growers aren't sharing.